I'm like, when Mama King contacted me, I first of all dropped my phone, went outside the church, and I started screaming. I was just screaming, you know. My teenagers were looking at me like, what's wrong with me, Sasa? Was you okay? I came back, they were like, what's the matter? I said, something just happened right now. Like, you guys don't know, you know. And I was so happy, and I'm still happy. I'm still giddy about it. Thank you, Mama, for all you do. I've been a silent follower of her for over the years, even before I met my husband. And the first day I met my husband, no, the first day I spoke to my husband when he asked me to marry him, we gossiped about her and the husband. So we just gossiped, and I was like, I just want to be like that woman. Like, I had to change. I wore glasses right from when I was 6 years old, and she made me change my bifocal frames to fancy ones. I was not looking like a nerd. I was not looking like a fico, because I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it, you know. Thank you, Mama, so much. I'm here to talk about something that has been covered with clay pots. And this thing has really, really eaten deep into our society that I was a victim of such. It pushed me to the point that I had to, when I went through therapy myself, I was like, wow, so there's sex therapy. Okay, let's go back to school. You know, I never knew that there was something called sex therapy until I had to go through sex therapy because of what I have to go through because of gender inequality in my first marriage. When this thing happened, it was something that I was told to shut up. Like you said, we're supposed to voice out, we're supposed to express ourselves. When all the speakers were talking about coming from the East, having girls, I come from a family of 5 strong women. I watched my mother go through the stigmatization of having all girls. But I thank God for the kind of father I had. My father would look at us and say, look, I'm running a diplomatic family. All of you are as men, as women, as women. If you want to fly, fly. If you want to sit, sit. And when my father takes us to the village, we actually learned my mother's language, not the Igbo word, and they'll be like, they'll say, India fulefu. At least I got that right. That we were lost, that my father was lost. My father does not have a name to himself. And my father will stand in the middle of the compound, we have very big compound, and say, you see these girls, all of you will gather because of them. And that gave us mouth. And the largest of all those mouths was me. As little as I was, my father would tell me, don't let any boy beat you. And I will stand when I'll write essays and I'll pass, and they'll say the boy has to take my place. I'll say, teacher, I took. So they carried the case to my grandmother. Then I was living with my grandmother, and I struggled to explain myself to my paternal grandmother that I had equal rights with the boy. And my grandmother nicknamed me Ochichi Government, which they still call me in my village till today. So this thing actually worked in a way that my brain was wired differently. If you are very, very conversant, if you grew up in my time and you know, Johnny Ma, you know, those Indian films, they kept talking about one woman. The women in those Indian movies kept talking about Indira Gandhi. Then we didn't have Google. we had libraries. I'll go and bury myself in libraries and I'll dig up about Indira Gandhi. And I read about Indira Gandhi and I was fascinated as a child. I took my journal and I wrote that I was going to be the first female president of Nigeria. And under it, I wrote that if I'm not the first female president of Nigeria, I was going to be a wife of a president. If I'm not the wife of a president, I was giving myself options. Yeah. If I'm not the wife of a president, I am going to give birth to someone who is going to be the president. That's how I wrote it, and I was 13. The journal is still there. My father kept it. He keeps it as a reminder to me when I want to become housewife. So, Indira drove me to a lot of things that I started school politics right from when I was in primary school. To the playground. I got into Ejele Memorial College when I was 8 years old because a boy called me Mumu. And he was in primary 6 then. And he said, if I'm not Mumu, I should prove it by writing the common entrance. I was in primary 3. And I went home, I cried to my mother and my father. My mother said, I don't want to say it in my mother's dialect. It's very funny. But literally she said, you, this daughter of mine, I'll go and throw you into the ocean so that I know that you are really possessed. How will you be fighting a man and you say you want to prove to yourself? And my father was listening. My father said, Lucci, do you want to write common entrance? I said, yes, Daddy. He said, no problem. My father went behind my mother's back and got the common entrance form. I didn't even enroll for lessons. I lessoned myself. I went and picked up all the primary 6 books because my mom was a headmistress then. And I started studying. Back then, you don't choose your school. They send you to schools. And Ejele was one of the prime schools then. And when my name came out, newspaper carried it too. My father still has a cutout. I came out as the best in Calabar then. Like, my street actually threw a party for me. And the newspapers carried it then that an 8-year-old girl passed the common entrance. And this person that called me Mumu, if you're conversant with Cross River, he was sent to Wapi College behind Hope Waddell towards Ikom. Yes, he was going down. And this gave me the strength that I stood on, that I could stand and speak for myself, to the point that I called police for my mother. I'm laying this basis for you to understand where I'm going to enter. I was taught in school then that I was taught child abuse. We were taught child rights then in school. And my mother asked my younger sister to wash plates. She refused to wash the plates because she wanted to transfer the plate washing to me when it was late. And I beat her up. Then my mom said, you beat your sister up, eh? And you did not wash the plate. I will kill you today. When I said kill, and what did they teach us in school today? And I went to police station at Mbukba. And I stood. They were looking at me like, they counter. So the police were like, are you lost? I said, no, I'm not lost. Are you looking for your mother? No. What happened? I came to report a crime. And the whole police was like, crime? How old are you? I said, my age. They said, come inside. They gave me a status. And what happened? I said, well, as I'm standing here, I came to report my mother before she commits the crime, that she said she wants to commit murder. Your mother wants to commit murder. I said, yes. Who does she want to kill? Me. And they sat me down. They were questioning me. I said, my mom has been committing child abuse. She flogs me. She does this. I was talking. The policemen were looking at me. Yeah. They didn't know how to handle me. They were like, This one is strong, oh. Wait, they now asked me, did you school abroad? I said, no, I didn't school abroad. I named my school. I named all of them. Okay. Meanwhile, night has covered. My dad was back home. Where is she? My mom said, I just told her I was going to beat her. She ran away. My mother and my father called the neighbors. They sent a search party for me. They were tired of searching for me. They came back home to pray. Only for them to hear a knock on the door. And there was a policeman on the door. My mom collapsed. My mom said, oh, she thought that they have found my dead body, and they came to tell her to identify the dead body. And the policeman said, your daughter came to report you. Coming from that kind of background, I went into the university, and I was a strong woman. Everyone knew me, up to my lecturers. And I got married while I was writing my project. I got married to this man that I fell in love with him. He was actually my first love, not my first crush. I had crushes. I wished to marry Michael Jackson back then. So the whole thing was, because I had aspirations that, okay, if I marry Michael Jackson, I'll have the spotlight of being at least a president or something. Then I got married to this man who, when I told him my dreams, was like, no problem, you take the world by storm and everything. And I got into that marriage with my whole heart and my whole body. When I got pregnant, the man said he doesn't want to be a father yet. He wants to tour the world and everything. And I'm like, I'm very anxious to be a mother. And that was where the abuse started. I actually didn't know, because I didn't come from an abusive family. My mom was actually the one ruling the house. My dad would be like, you should close your mouth too. And, I came from a house where power was given to women. My dad was the one that, my mother said, you want to go to school? Go. You want to become anything? Become. And this was a house I entered, and they said, I cannot become anything, that women in their clan don't do anything. They sit down in the house, and the men provided anything they want for them. And I said, if I knew I was going to end up like this, I would kuku end in primary 3. At least I knew how to read and write. And that was when the abuse started. I was physically abused. I was sexually abused. When she brought the picture of the tying of the woman's hand and everything, I went through that process of where I was tied up, I was beaten, and I was sexually abused by a man who was my husband. The sexual abuse was that he would bring other women to the house to abuse me, and also bring other men to the house to abuse me. It was fun to him, and in that process, I attempted suicide. I drank a whole bottle of Big Dettol. I laugh about it now because God turned it to Coke. So I passed out, and I was rushed to the hospital, and everything was flushed, and the white doctor looked at me and told me, why? Look at your baby. My baby was 3 months old then. He said, look at your baby, and don't you know you have a future? Don't you know you are more than this? Why not go to the police? I said, police care. They'll tell me it's a family problem, go back home. This man cut off all communications between I and my family. So, what am I trying to say here? Women, there is a right you have to your body. I didn't have that right to the body. Nobody can just come and rape you because you're a woman. Nobody can just come and take charge of your body because you're a woman. God created you and made you his temple. They don't desecrate temples. So that's why God gave us that right to hold our body. And it's even when Peter was saying that we should be modest in our kiniko, I see that thing as I am being guarded up as a temple. And my rights as a wife was taken away from me. 1, I could not associate. 2, I could not do what I wanted to do. I could not express myself. 3, I did not have rights to my body. So what am I trying to say here is that when you want to have a conversation, especially to the single ladies, ask the man, do I have a right to my body? Do I have a right to say no? Do I have the right to say yes? That I want to, like, for instance, when I had my daughter, I told my husband I was not going to go through vaginal birth. I want to go through CS. That was a right to my body. I chose it. You have a right to choose. Like she said, you have a right to medical, you said that, to medical decisions. A man is not supposed to be there. I have watched women lose their lives because a man has to come and sign consent form. And the woman will die, the child will die, or the child will die, and the woman will be left alone. What am I trying to say here is that look at yourself as the reindeer. The reindeer, you cannot differentiate the female and the male reindeer, right? Can you differentiate which one is the male and the female? They have 2 horns. They have equal opportunities to fight off what? Predators. True or false? That's the way I saw how God created us. And these horns will let the reindeer chart a path for herself. True or false? Will she wait for the male reindeer to come and clear bush for her? No. But because they have equal opportunities, she can do whatever she wants to do politely and take care of her home front. And the male reindeer will not have so much to do. This is what I say, that we complement each other. We don't complete each other as human beings. We are complete when God created us. So we complement ourselves. I'm not saying we are taking the roles of men or men taking the roles of women. No, we complement each other. Okay, the second one, I said gender equality. Please go back to the other slide. Gender equality is not a human right alone, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and a sustainable world. If you go to and say 1 in 5 women and girls before the age of 35, 15 to 49 have reported experiencing sexual or physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner. On my table, there are lots of cases of women who they will tell you that my husband raped that's his stepdaughter, that's my daughter, and I cannot say anything about it. You get called for a rape case and the family is covering up for the rapist. If we have a space whereby male and female folks understand their sexualities, that look, you as a man, you have the grit, you have the strength, does not mean you have to impose yourself on a woman because she's a woman, like what Mr. King said, objectifying us as sex beings. No. I see that boys need to be trained to see girls as their equal partners. I have a son, and when I was telling him, cut onions, he's a boy, I said, stop it, please don't put it in his head, thank you very much. He's going to be 13 this year, and I comfortably left him with his almost 20 months, 19 months sister, and I'm at peace. You know why? Because he's going to do what a girl can do. He's going to make her food, he's going to bathe her, he's going to care for her, and when I get home, I'm going to go to a warm dinner or a warm lunch. He is 13. Why? Because I said I did not want to continue that pattern where he came from. where women sit, no, fold their legs and be doing everything for the man, and the men don't do anything. When he went to school, he proudly told his classmates that I can cook. They said that's a girl's job. My son came back and told me, Mommy, this is a girl's job. I said, look, let me tell you, cooking is a survival kit too.
Yeah, the life skill.
I said, cook. He now said, hey, Mommy, you told me to mop. I said, who wants to mop after you? Who is going to clean up after you? Okay. Boys have to be what? Trained in the same way our girls are trained. That's how I see equal opportunities. The girls are trained how to lose tires, to fix your tires. When they are trained this way, I tell you something, it's going to go back to the bedroom, where a man is going to respect a woman's body and a woman is going to respect a man's body. Another thing I see is that, for me, like the United Nations Secretary General said that gender equality is a thing of power. I want to charge all of us here that we women, when are we going to take the power in our hands? Hey, men, you don't want. The power is what's in our hands. There was something Mrs. Mama King wrote the other day about generational patterns and everything. And I was sharing it. I said, people don't know. This thing is that until we take the power in our hands to change patterns, we say enough is enough for this thing that is going on. Enough is enough for boys treating girls badly. Enough, because when I saw the online things of women stabbing their husbands, it is kind of a boomerang of unbalanced society. Are you getting me? It goes like this. It goes like this. But if we have equal opportunities, no woman will stab her husband, because her husband has given her that opportunity to be herself. She will not even have the time to think of stabbing you. Why? When she's thinking of great ambitions to attain, she won't. And when she achieves something, let me tell you something in sex that we don't understand. Sex is a kind of, I see it as a devotion. I see it as something that God gave to us to understand communication between Him and us. You have to be intimate with somebody first before you have sex, true or false? How do you commune with God when you want to have your morning devotion? How? You become intimate. You do praise and worship first, Abby. Do you just go, Father, in the name of Jesus? No. There are protocols to this thing. You start with the praise and worship. That praise and worship is knowing. When they first talk about sex in the Bible, what was it said? What was the word used? At least we are Bible students here, Abby. To do what? To know. Yes, Adam knew his wife. Sex is knowing. Sex is being intimate. If we know our opportunities, if we know ourselves, oh, my wife, my sister, my niece, my nephew has to, I'm using sex as a template right now, has to push forward. I have to push her forward. I have to support her as a girl. I have to support my nephew as a boy without seeing the gender thing in between. You find out that we are going to know each other, and then we'll be in sync with each other. I'm using sex now. Just wrap your head around sex right now. Being in sync. And then when you be in sync with the person, in both ways, you give the other person pleasure. The pleasure here, let's bring it out to society. The person is having his or her ambitions achieved I want to break it down in normal English. The person is having their ambitions achieved, their roles covered in a pleasurable way. Are we getting the scope now? Are you getting the scope now? Nobody is losing. I'm being pleasured. He is being pleasured. And then what do? We get to a climax. At least we don't have less than 18-year-olds here, Abby. We get to a climax, right? And then what do? We get to that point, to the highest point of satisfaction. That highest point of satisfaction, what it gives us, when you get to the highest point of satisfaction, you do. Yes, you can scream. Yes, that's why I said when you get to that climax you scream. You do. The screaming might be your victory in your place of work, your victory in achieving your ambitions, the victory in yes, thank you, and in attaining that milestone. Look, right from when I was in the small, let me talk like my little nephew. So right from when I was in the small, I have always aspired to be one United Nations Kiniko or something. So imagine me going to that place. I scream victory and everything, and then we come down, and then we cuddle each other. The cuddling each other is here whereby we are holding our hands and we are sharing our victories. And when we share our victories as human beings, where there is no gender, the world becomes more colorful. Yeah. There are no barriers. You do your thing, I do my thing. And you find out that there is a common ground to what we have achieved.
What?
So now, for me to close this thing, Mrs. Ned is already giving me signs. I want to talk to the men folk. I want to talk to the men folk. You could see here that the women have the power. The power is not to suppress the men, right? Now she's on top of her world. She has gotten to the climax, isn't it? And I said to the men folk, gender equality is not taking up your roles or place in the society. It is the working together to achieve economic growth, peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Imagine we women, if you go to any church, now plenty pass. Go to any go to any community. Women are more. And imagine if the men give us, or we give ourselves first, the women, by supporting each other, we are going to have economic growth. Big economic growth. And then we are going to have peaceful, prosperous, and a sustainable world. Ephesians 6, in short, the whole book of Ephesians is one of my favorite scriptures. It states that all members of the society can work together in peaceful harmony. When I mean all members of the society, that's Ephesians 6 starts with what? Husbands, love your wives. Wives, be submissive to your husband. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. And go back again. It comes back to the fathers. Don't anger your children. Right? And then it comes back to the workers, to people who are under employment, although it used slaves, but thank God for TPT. Who has been reading TPT translation? Download TPT, please. You understand some parts of the Bible better. It says, people under employment, what do? You submit to your master. It is a circle. Just what we have here is a circle of equality. It's a circle of mutual understanding. And you find out that with all this, just the way you have sex with your partner, whereby your body is not taken advantage of, you have mutual understanding. We come to a place of what? Prosperity. And God Almighty will not be called upon every time to come and do the job that humans are supposed to do. Thank you very much.